Hey friends, welcome to my channel about making money online. On this channel, I showcase various strategies that I use for work and generally show my work process, like how I sit in front of my computer, work and make money online. And today, I will continue working with one strategy that I found and will now apply. For this strategy, I'll use just 3 indicators. I'll start adding them slowly. The first indicator I need is the SuperTrend indicator. I go here to Settings and set the period to 8. And in the second field, I enter the value 2.1, after which I click the Save button. That is, I don't change anything else on this indicator. The next indicator I need is called ADX. I add it to the chart in the same way. Here I go into the settings, and in the first field I set 12, and in the second field I also set the value to 12. After that, I go to Styles, and as usual, when working with the ADX indicator, I will use only the top line of the indicator, so I just disable the other two. And finally, the third indicator I will need today is the moving average. I'm adding this moving average to the chart. Now, I go to the settings. Here, I set the period to 45 and the type of moving average to EMA. Then, I go to Styles and make this line a little more noticeable so that it is more convenient for me to work with. After that, I click the Save button. Now, an important point, I will open 1-minute trades today. To receive accurate signals, it's also very important for me to adjust the chart for entering trades. Today, I will use the candlestick chart type as usual, but I will set the candle time frame to 30 seconds. So here, I set a 30-second time frame. Basically, I've set up the chart and can now start working. But before I begin, I remind you that I've left a link to this platform in the pinned comment. On this platform, a demo account is available, and if you need to test this strategy absolutely for free without any investment, click on the link in the pinned comment and open this platform. Here on the demo account, you can test this strategy for free. Now, regarding the actual work, how do I work? So, first I choose the chart I will work with, and at the moment when I switch between different charts, I look at the ADX indicator, and this indicator shows the strength of the current movement. At the same time, it doesn't matter where this movement is directed. It can be upward or it can be downward. The higher the value, the stronger the current movement. For me to enter trades, I need the ADX indicator to show a value above 20. So I look at the final point of this line. If it is above the value of 20, then it is good. It means I can open trades on this chart. Here's a little detail to note. If, for example, there has been a long downward trend, like here, and if the price now turns around and goes up, what will I see on the ADX indicator? I'll see that the value is still above 20. However, this line, it will bend down like this. And in order to enter trades, I need the current movement to either gain strength or maintain it. Therefore, to enter a trade, it is important for me that this ADX line is not pointing down. So if I see that the ADX line is pointing down at the moment, like it was here, then I do not enter trades. So I check this indicator on 2 parameters. Firstly, it needs to be above 20. And secondly, the line shouldn't be pointing down. Once I make sure that, in principle, both of these conditions are met, and according to the ADX indicator I can enter trades, I start working with the chart itself. I see what the other 2 indicators show. So, briefly about how I work with the moving average. It is set to a fairly large period here, and I just observe where the price is going in the medium-term perspective. If the price is below the moving average, it means we are currently in a downtrend, and accordingly, I look for the moment when I can enter a downtrade. If the price is above the moving average, it means the chart is currently rising, and we are in an uptrend. At the same time, I periodically also pay attention to the direction of this moving average. If the moving average is pointing downward, then generally, in principle, we are currently in a downtrend. So, we can see that the chart previously went down, the moving average also turned and went down, and accordingly, the price is below our moving average. So, we have a downward movement now. And the last indicator I pay attention to is the SuperTrend indicator. So, here I look at what signal the SuperTrend gives. If it gives a sell signal, then I can go for a down trade. If it gives a buy signal, then I can consider the moments when I can enter an up trade. So, accordingly, there was a signal for a down trade. As long as this red line is still being drawn, this sell signal is active. Here was a signal for an uptrade. And all this time, while this green line was active, while it was being drawn, the buy signal was active accordingly. And also, a small clarification regarding the SuperTrend indicator. It is good if, at the moment of entering the trade, the SuperTrend price is not on a plateau. So, for example, a signal came out for a downtrade, the price is falling, and right at the moment when the price is dropping, if we are talking about a signal for a downtrade, this red line, it turns downward. If I see that it is at a plateau, then I will consider whether to enter a trade. If I see that, for example, there is a signal for a downtrade and this line is pointing downwards, then I enter a downtrade more confidently. Accordingly, if I see that there is a signal for an uptrade, if the green line is at the plateau, then I also take a closer look. If I see that the line is going upwards, even if it's just a slight upward direction, I enter the trade with more confidence. Well, that's basically the strategy. Now, I will try to find a suitable market situation and enter a trade. Actually, on this chart, I could enter a down trade. So, there was quite a strong downward movement according to the ADX indicator. In principle, the situation is suitable. I can see a downward movement by the moving average. The only thing is that right now on the SuperTrend indicator, a small plateau has formed, but nevertheless, I will not enter trades here for the simple reason that there is very low profitability on this currency pair. I need to change something, so here is a good situation to enter a down trade for 1 minute. I see that the ADX indicator is above 20 and the line is pointing upwards. This downward movement is just gaining strength. Meanwhile, there is an active sell signal from the SuperTrend indicator. The line is going down and the moving average is also going down with the price below the moving average. That's why I entered the trade for 1 minute again. Now, regarding the trade amount, it is probably important to mention it because I talk about it in every single one of my videos. In general, regardless of the strategy I use and the set of indicators I apply, I always use an amount that does not exceed 1% of my balance to open the very first trade. The thing is, regardless of the strategy I use, I understand that my trades can end up in the negative, and that's basically a normal part of my work. I'm used to it. So for example, there might be a small rebound right now, and accordingly, I can close this trade at a loss. What do I do in such a case? In such a case, I simply cover with doubling. So it's worth watching this trade now. It closed with a profit, so I'm not changing anything here, but if this trade had closed at a loss, I would have entered the following value here, $600. So I would double the trade amount and, accordingly, open the next trade at $600. If this trade at $600 ended negatively again, I would simply double the trade amount once more. So for example, I would open the next trade at $1,200. And so, if the trade at $1,200 had closed in profit for me, then in one go, I would have recouped the loss from the first trade at $300, fully covered the loss from the second trade at $600, and would have earned a bit more on top, after which I would have returned here to the original trade amount of $300. So, in this way, I can simply cover several losing trades with one trade. But in order to have many attempts for coverings, I use a very small amount. I established such a rule for myself that I use an amount that does not exceed 1% of my balance. Here the downward movement continues. Basically, I can also continue to enter down trades on this chart, but I want to find a currency pair where I could enter an up trade so I can show how I work if there is a suitable opportunity to enter an up trade. Well, let me enter an up trade here, although what do I see here? So, according to the ADX indicator, the value is above 20 and the line is not directed downward. Wonderful. The SuperTrend indicator gives a buy signal. At the same time, the green line was pointing upwards, so I entered the trade, and accordingly, the moving average is slightly directed upward. And besides, the price is currently above the moving average, so I entered the trade for $300, and accordingly, a slight correction is happening now. Once again, this trade can easily close in a loss. I perfectly understand this. Therefore, here I can immediately prepare a doubled amount to open the next trade. That is $600 already. Well, yeah. Right now, I've caught a small correctional movement. We see that the ADX indicator is slowly starting to plateau. It's possible that the current movement is starting to lose its strength, so we need to see what happens next. There are just a few seconds left before the trade closes, and the price is below my entry point. And yes, this trade of mine is closing at a loss. Therefore, I probably won't enter a trade here. I'll try to find a better situation now. Maybe, well, I might enter a trade here, by the way. I immediately open the next chart, and what do I see here? The ADX value here is 35, indicating a strong upward trend. This movement is just gaining its strength. A signal to buy from the SuperTrend indicator was released a while ago, and it's been active for several minutes. The line has been actively rising during this time, and similarly, the long period moving average is also pointing upwards, while the price has been above the moving average for quite a while. So, in principle, it's a good situation to enter an uptrade. So accordingly, I opened a trade at $600 with a return of 92%. I will easily cover the loss from the previous trade and make a little profit from this trade. If the trade closes at a loss, well, I'll just double the amount here and open the next trade with the doubled amount. That is, again, it happens, that I catch some corrective movements and just some trades in a row close at a loss. There are only a few seconds left, and yet my uptrade closes with a profit. So doubling up here doesn't make sense anymore. Now I revert to the original trade amount of $300. That's the strategy, my friends. I hope you discovered something new. If you really found something for yourself, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Also, I remind you that on my channel, all I do is share my personal experience. I do not provide financial advice. Please keep this in mind. And with that, I'll be saying goodbye, friends. I wish you luck.